This week is not about delegates. Not really. Delegates have no real power at modern political conventions. A lot of what it is about is money, cash, and lots of it. The two major parties and their host cities are raising more than $100 million to pay for this summer's political shows. And the biggest share comes from big business. That's the subject of tonight's Weekend Perspective. Big corporations eager to get their name and their issues front and center and to buy influence.
This is an opportunity for us to really showcase what AT&T is all about.
We're going to entertain somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 people over the course of the next 5 or 6 days.
Companies are spending millions for the privilege of lavishing delegates with gifts, providing them with free automobiles, free long distance, free Barbies, cheap airfare, and lavish hospitality suites.
The conventions are like a giant circus, or I would call it a Super Bowl of schmooze. Where literally there are dozens and dozens of corporate parties, receptions, demonstrations, yacht trips, golf tournaments, you name it.
Some of the nation's biggest companies, many with major issues pending before Congress, have lined up to help foot the bill. U.S. Airways, the official airline for the Republican National Convention, is giving $500,000 to the GOP show. United is doling out another $500,000 to the Democrats for their convention in Los Angeles. This at a time when both airlines are heavily lobbying Congress to get behind their pending merger. An elite group of more than 20 corporations is donating at least $1 million each in cash, goods, and services to the party of their choice. AT&T and General Motors are pledging $1 million to both the Republican and Democratic conventions. Each has important business pending in Washington.
CBS News coverage of Campaign 72, the election year, the Republican National Convention.
It wasn't supposed to be this way. 25 years ago, in the wake of allegations of influence peddling by lobbyists at the 1972 conventions and fundraising excesses uncovered during Watergate, Congress passed legislation to pay for future conventions with federal money. This year, each party will receive more than $13 million in taxpayer dollars, but that only covers about a quarter of the cost.
These two conventions are the poster child for how bad the system is. If you had any doubt how bad it is, go to the convention and watch these parties. If you want to see how close the powerful interests are to our politicians and how much the politicians are influenced by it, just stand there and watch all the parties.
While some companies deny they are buying access to decision makers, others are unapologetic about their corporate kindness.
We'll serve dinner, breakfast, lunch on here, entertain guests.
Union Pacific rolled in vintage rail cars and is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to entertain delegates as part of its massive lobbying operation.
Sure, we're going to talk about issues. We wouldn't be at the convention if we weren't, somehow concerned with the politics of what we do.
Incidentally, though the parties are officially banned from taking corporate contributions as a condition for getting the $13 million taxpayer subsidy, the rule has been rendered pretty much meaningless. How? By having the city set up a so-called independent group called the Host Committee, which can take unlimited amounts of cash and services to put on these shows. CBS News will be back in a minute.